So, just like how the creators of the corporation had to make an unfortunately necessary sequel, I'm in the same boat with lost media and media preservation. Because companies are getting really bold in their methods of screwing over customers. First on the chopping block is Nintendo. If you hadn't heard of this by now, Nintendo is shutting down the eShop for the Wii U and 3DS. As of March 27, 2023, it will no longer be possible to make purchases on Nintendo eShop for Wii U and Nintendo 3DS. It will also no longer be possible to download free content, including game demos. Furthermore, as of August 29, 2022, it will no longer be possible to use Nintendo eShop cards to add funds to an account. Previously, they stopped letting you add funds through a credit card, making eShop cards the only way to add funds, but not anymore. Now, even after this, there's still a way to add funds. If you use the same Nintendo account across all platforms, then directly adding funds there will let you buy anything from the eShop until March of next year. Now, nothing is technically lost. Most, if not all, games are documented on YouTube in some way. There are thousands of people who have already bought these games, so they're still out there, and you can still buy them as physical copies. The main issue that comes up is the lack of accessibility, and there's no better example of this than Fire Emblem Fates. And yes, I am talking about Fire Emblem in 2 videos in a row, because I know you guys love when I talk about it. Fire Emblem Fates is kind of a weird entry in the series. It was marketed as a choose-your-own-path kind of game. You can either side with the Kingdom of Nor or Hoshido, and the game changes based on that decision. The gameplay is the same, but depending on the side, you get different characters, different maps, different items. They're fundamentally 2 different games wrapped into one. Or at least that's how it should be. The thing is, your decision is already made for you once you purchase the game. For whatever reason, Nintendo went the Pokemon route and made 2 different versions of the game. Right here, I have my copy of Fire Emblem Birthright, and as you may have guessed, when I get to the part where I choose a side, I can only choose the Kingdom of Hoshido. If I want to play the second path, I have to buy that option on the eShop. This was a stupid decision back then, and it's even stupider now. As of March of next year, if someone wanted to play Fire Emblem Fates for the first time, they would have to buy 2 different copies in order to have the full experience. This isn't even the worst part about the game, this is all just set up for the real issue. You see, there's a third path called Revelations that you can buy as DLC, which again is fundamentally a different game. This is kind of considered to be the true path, because you get to recruit every character, and most characters have a happy ending here. However, Fire Emblem Revelations is a DLC-only game, which means when March of 2023 rolls around, it will literally become an inaccessible lost game. Actually, that's a lie. Nintendo knows Fire Emblem Fates is a DLC-heavy game, so they decided to end the sales of this specific game 1 month earlier. Thanks, Nintendo! This once again is in line with Nintendo's scummy practice with the fear of missing out. We saw it with the Mario Collection, and with the Fire Emblem 1 translation. Nintendo makes their own games inaccessible in order to encourage consumers to buy these games quickly, or they'll miss their chance forever. Of course, I know that online stores can't be around forever. The same thing happened with the Wii Shop channel, and there were tons of WiiWare that became inaccessible. But most WiiWare games were just small projects. Fire Emblem Revelations is a full game with more content than the physical version you buy. Some of you may not care about Fire Emblem, but there are definitely more download-only games on the eShop. Take for instance Ace Attorney. Both Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice are download-only games outside of Japan. This is another high-profile game that will become inaccessible after March of next year. Or it would have been if Capcom hadn't released them on iOS and Android. But soon, that's going to be the only way new players can buy and play these games. During my research, I found this very funny comment about how Ace Attorney going digital only was a good thing. Eat shit, asshole! I know someone's going to point out that none of this is technically lost media, since tons of people already own them, but we're losing access to them. And the whole point of media preservation is access. At the very least, Nintendo promises that they're going to let us re-download games and DLC after March of next year. So thanks for that one, Nintendo. I say that sarcastically because you think that would be a guarantee. But not if you ask Ubisoft. After removing the online functionality of many games, Ubisoft has started to delist games on Steam, and one of these was Assassin's Creed Liberation. The initial controversy began with a statement saying that the game would become inaccessible after September 1st. Now, games being delisted isn't uncommon, but completely removing your access to them after you purchased it, that is. Obviously, this received massive backlash to the point where Ubisoft had to step in and clarify that you could still access the game no problem after that date. You just couldn't play the DLC you bought. Oh, well, that fixes everything. So yeah, if you bought the DLC for this game, which could be quite a few people since this was on sale during the Steam Summer Sale, you're out of luck. Of course, there is a remaster of Liberation people can buy now, but it's not the same, and it doesn't help people that have already purchased their version. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I have never played an Assassin's Creed game, ever, and I don't even think Liberation was all that well received, but this affects more of Ubisoft's titles, and it's setting up an example for game preservation that doesn't sit right with me. The fact that a game company can just yoink your game, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that sentiment has been shared by many commenters on videos discussing Ubisoft's practices. Online stores were once deemed the future of gaming, but now we're seeing the cracks unfold. But you know, at least Ubisoft lets you keep your base game, your base purchase. Again, I say that sarcastically because it should be a guarantee. Until you ask PlayStation. So we're switching it back to this channel's bread and butter, film news. This news mainly concerns customers in Germany and Austria, but again, it's a precedent that's very concerning. So back in August of 2021, Sony announced they would no longer be selling or renting digital movies. While sales of these products were on the rise during the pandemic, Sony felt that there was too much competition in this market. You have Apple iTunes, Amazon Video, Vudu, Google Play. They felt it wasn't worth it anymore. And that's fine. Aside from convenience, I don't think anyone was really clamoring to buy movies on the PlayStation Store. And they did promise that no one was going to lose access to their purchased products, so all is good. Until a year later. As of August 31st, 2022, due to our evolving licensing agreements with content providers, you will no longer be able to view your previously purchased Studio Canal content, and it will be removed from your video library. And it's not just Studio Canal either. You also got some Lionsgate's films being taken away, and that includes big names like The Hunger Games, John Wick, and Saw series. Sure, you can find these films anywhere, but it's the standard it sets that companies can just yoink your stuff, and you're powerless to do anything about it. But at least you can find these things somewhere else. Which you would think is a guarantee, unless you're HBO Max. So yeah, here's the big story everyone's talking about. The Warner Brothers and Discovery merger, and the ensuing clusterfuck of an aftermath. So I graduated with a film degree and not a business degree, so I don't know all the intricate details, but I think I can explain it in layman's terms. This essentially began all the way back in 2018 when AT&T bought Time Warner, now known as Warner Media. This merger between a telecommunications company and a content provider was meant to be a big step in the battle for content. But given recent news, we know this ended in failure, and it's not hard to see why. Their big plan with the original merger was to win over new subscribers into cable subscriptions. I can't think of a worse idea than putting all your marbles into DirecTV in 2018. So here's kind of a side tangent, and maybe my ageism is showing a little bit, but why are we letting so many out-of-touch fossils run big companies, especially ones that create media? Any 16-year-old back then could tell you that TV was going out of fashion, and, for better or for worse, streaming services were the new, more profitable thing. So that's what this new merger aims to do, cater to the streaming market. Their plan to merge the two platforms sounds simple enough. Take all the content in HBO Max and all the content in Discovery Plus, combine them together so that customers have more content, and boom, everyone's happy. Except that's not what happened, at all. You see, the AT&T failure came at a price, one that left this new merger $55 billion in debt. So how are they going to fix this? Well, it's by canceling your favorite show and movies that aren't even out yet. Which doesn't make much sense considering they've already put so much money into making this product. If it's already complete, just release it. Well, there's two kind of scummy reasons why they're doing this. One, so that they can use them as tax write-offs, and two, so they can avoid paying residuals. The best explanation I found for tax write-offs came from IGN. Content costs can be amortized, or assigned a cost that gets recognized by an entity across multiple years, over the program or film's expected lifetime. If years on that timeline remain, a company can remove that asset from distribution and use its remaining cost balance to offset taxable income somewhere else. Essentially, they were supposed to keep paying to distribute this content, but because they're choosing not to anymore, they can keep that money for themselves. But what happens to the people who worked on this show? Well, they get the worst end of this deal. Residuals refer to financial compensation given to artists and directors when a TV show or movie is rerun, released in physical form, or, in our case, given an online streaming release. From what I understand, residuals from streaming releases used to be pretty low. In 2020, SAG-AFTRA was finally able to reach a deal that improved residuals for online programming, notably for calculations made within the first 3 years. And Warner Media is gonna just jump right over all of that. I'm gonna get real for a second. This decision is actually kind of infuriating. This is putting people's lives at stake, cause residuals pay for people's healthcare. This is all being done without notice, too. Creators are literally getting news of their show's cancellation through Twitter. You'd think the people who create the content for HBO would be treated with a little more respect, but not in this system. So where can you find these shows now? Well, you can't. Since these shows were used as tax write-offs, Warner Bros. Discovery can't make money off them anymore, meaning they can't distribute it anywhere else. It's just gone. Hey everybody, Future Zonesher here, giving you a post-production update. Basically, Cartoon Network is looking to find new homes for the shows that were wiped off of HBO Max. Now, this doesn't include every show, just the animated shows that they worked with originally. So, some of the things I say in this video moving forward are going to be a little outdated, but I don't think it diminishes my points. And I still think media preservation is very important given, this whole fiasco. So yeah, just letting you guys know about this, and back to the video. Now, there are a few exceptions, like Close Enough. You can still buy it on the iTunes store, or watch it on Netflix anywhere else but the US. There's also the rare physical release that some shows were lucky enough to have, but for 90% of these shows, they're essentially lost media. There's no legal way for us to watch it, and there's no legal way for the content creators themselves to watch it. The announcement was so abrupt that creators haven't been able to archive their own shows for themselves. This was worse for the crew of the Batgirl movie because they couldn't even get to the finished product phase until they were cancelled. They're going to be allowed to watch the movie once before it's stored away in the Warner Bros. Archive forever. Again, this decision is harming people's lives. That is years of work down the drain. There are cinematographers and editors that would love to put this film on their resume, but can't because Warner Bros. Wants to pretend this film doesn't exist. But hey, this saved the company a couple of $1 billion, right? Not really. They actually lost $5.5 billion in market cap since this whole mess started. Great job, fellas. Keep it up. Just talking about this stuff makes me angry. I wonder how many of you have paused this video out of frustration of this system and sitting there in contemplation that this is the state of new media. This, apparently, is the way of the future. Now, there's a pretty simple solution I think a few of you have written in the comments already, and that's piracy. Now, while that is a solution, it is not the perfect solution everyone claims it to be. The obvious issue being that artists don't get paid through this system. When I watch something and enjoy it, I would like for the people who worked on it to support themselves, their family, and have access to their healthcare. I saw this tweet by Lavan Jahanian that talked about how, yeah, there are pirating sites for people like us, but what about kids, the main demographic of these shows? They should not have to go through hoops and hurdles to watch shows meant for them. I'm not trying to shame anyone who pirates, because I've done it myself in the past, but I've been seeing people tweet at creators saying, "Oh, don't worry, we can still see your show if we pirate it." It comes off like they only care about accessing the show, which, in this situation, is only half the battle. It's like, "Oh, it's on the Pirate Bay. Good job, fellas, we saved the media." But what about the people who made the show? I assure you, telling artists that their art lives on 123 movies is not the reassuring reply you think it is. So I hate to end on a sour note, but that's legitimately where we're at with this whole new media fiasco. There's not much we the consumer can do because this system is corrupt from the very top. Those fossils only care about money and profits at the expense of artists. And yeah, I know that's how a business should be run, but it doesn't really have to be that way. Once upon a time, studios actually cared about making money and art at the same time. Stanley Kubrick famously had a studio deal where he was allowed full creative freedom over his films, and the studio would distribute his stuff no questions asked. And you know who he made that deal with? It was Warner Brothers. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I don't think everyone's gonna be the next Kubrick or anything, but what I want is for studios to go back and actually care about the content they're making. Because right now, it feels like we're entering a new dark age of lost media. We're currently watching the modern day equivalent of old studios burning film stock to save money. Earlier, I mentioned that I wished media companies weren't run by absolute fossils. Well, I want to amend that statement. Because right now, I wish studios were run by people who actually care about art. Hey everybody, Zelcher here, and I forgot to record an end card. And I don't feel like setting it all up again, so here we are. I'm gonna keep it real brief. One, I'm gonna continue talking about lost media in the future, mainly focusing on the issues with media preservation. It's something I'm kind of become passionate about, and it's a topic I don't think people talk about all too much on this platform, so I'll fill that role if I have to. If you find any stories out there that you think I should cover, let me know. Send it my way, either on Twitter or on Discord. Links below. Two, I keep saying this, but I am going to start experimenting with the content I make on this channel. Going to try making things that appeal to a broader audience. I'm not going to abandon the What the Fuck series, but, going to try new things. Shake things up on this channel a little bit. Shout out to the patrons, as usual. Love y'all. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.